Hi everyone, Nick Skillicorn here with another insightful piece of scientific evidence that I've just found out about creativity. Now, you've often probably heard the phrase curiosity killed the cat, but that's just a phrase that people use. Or is it? Now, what I came across recently is a study about what actually happens to spark curiosity in animals. And the fascinating animals that are the subject of three different studies that I've looked at here are orangutans. Now, orangutans are large apes that live in Borneo and Southeast Asia, and they're actually very, very genetically similar to humans. And the question is this: are wild animals, wild orangutans, more creative or less creative than captive orangutans? And they assessed whether or not these orangutans are curious and are able to solve problems. Now, the way that they looked at this is they set up several experiments by putting new novel objects into the environments of wild orangutans in Borneo or in captive orangutans, either in rehabilitation centers for orangutans that had been intercepted from the animal trade or had been displaced by logging or had their mothers killed. So they took some objects that these animals had not encountered before and put them in their environment. And they did the same thing with orangutans in zoos in, I think it was Zurich and Frankfurt. So they then assessed whether or not the orangutans that had not encountered these objects ever before would go and interact with them to test whether or not they were curious. And what they found across the board was fascinating. Orangutans that were wild avoided new objects completely. They set up remote cameras to test how long it took these wild animals to interact with these new objects. And it took something like several dozen thousand hours, several 100,000 minutes before the first orangutans would even go and attempt touching an object that they hadn't seen before. Whereas, fascinatingly enough, in the zoos and in the wild animal sanctuaries, the orangutans would just go and touch them within 1 to 8 minutes. Now, that is a huge, huge difference. And it shows that animals, in this case great apes, that have been somehow brought up in the presence of humans are much more curious than their wild counterparts. And there's several theories as to why this is. Now, the first theory is that orangutans that are exposed to humans from a young age learn from humans. And the thing that they learn specifically is if a role model, in this place another great ape who supplies them with food and shelter, goes and interacts with a novel object, something they've not seen before, that makes it okay for the observing orangutan to go and do the same thing, to try something out that it hasn't done before. The second theory is that wild orangutans and wild animals need to think about their safety. And this means they're much less likely to go and interact with new objects and try new things. In fact, one of the other studies related to this assessed how good animals are at problem solving, how innovative they are, and how good they are at coming up with solutions to challenges they haven't faced before. And they found that wild animals are significantly less creative than animals that live in captivity. And the main theory behind that, as I said, is they don't need to worry about providing for their basic needs of food, shelter, and not being attacked by predators. So it's an absolutely fascinating study that if you provide the basic foundations of it being okay to try new things, to explore, and to be curious, and also provide the basic foundations of the psychological safety, the physiological safety of having enough food, having enough shelter, etc., animals are much more likely to try new things. And this has a huge implication on where our creativity and our curiosity actually evolved from. Research going back into human evolution apparently shows that we were using tools several 100,000 years ago, whereas the first evidence of creativity only came up a couple of 10,000 years ago. So there must have been something throughout the course of evolution where humans were no longer at as much of a threat to being threatened by predators, or had the basis on which they could build up the ability to think of other things apart from just survival, that allowed them to become more curious. and it gave them the permission to try new things and to explore. So this is a scientific study. I'll link out to all of the studies in the description below. I just thought it's something that I just read, and I think you would have found fascinating as well. So if you like this scientific insight into what makes apes more creative than other apes, which also has an implication as to what makes humans more creative than other humans, then please give me a like below. Give me a comment as to what you thought about this, whether or not you think animals actually are more creative if they are safer. Yeah, please follow me so you get all of the new videos as they come out. And remember, most importantly, go to www.ideatovalue.com, sign up for a newsletter, and you'll never miss out on any of these amazing insights. All right, that's all for me for now. Speak soon, and yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave me a comment about what you thought and what you'd like to see more about. If you want to take your creativity and innovation capabilities to the next level, then invest in yourself with the premium training only available at ideatovalue.com. These exclusive training modules have all been put together by me, Nick Skillicorn, and have been used by thousands of artists, innovation leaders, and CEOs to become better at understanding the source of their creativity and executing on their innovation ambitions. And there is no risk to you, as they are backed by our money-back guarantee. Now, don't forget to go out there and make your ideas a reality. See you again soon.